Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Majelle and I don't usually do book videos anymore. If you guys have been following me for a bit, you'll know that I originally started out as a book channel and I made such a transition into doing what just I enjoy a bit more. I'm more of like a fashion channel now, but I still read like the same amount of books, if not more, because we're in quarantine right now, that I usually do. So I'm still super obsessed with books. I just don't make videos about them as much anymore. So here is a book video for everyone who's been there since the beginning. It is the books that I'm reading in quarantine. I ended up divvying up my piles into my TBR and then the ones I've read already. Quarantine has been going on for a month now, so I've managed to read 4 books right now, which like is actually my usual. So my reading has not stepped up as much as I thought it would step up. So I'm gonna start with the books I've read already and then lead into the ones that I'm planning on reading. I guess I'll go in order. When quarantine started, I was reading Crescent City. It's the new Sarah J Maas book. Literally, Sarah J Maas coming out with an 800-page book that just happened to be released like a week before lockdown went into effect was her gift to all of us. And the fact that the book was like absolutely fantastic was great. If you guys don't know, Sarah J Maas is usually a young adult, sort of new adult author, and this is her first divergence into a more adult fantasy novel. It is the first in a series. Does not disappoint. I absolutely love it. It's overhyped right now. It is super hyped, but I would say it's so worth the hype. I don't know how to talk about it without giving it away too much, just because literally the plot goes in one direction and then after like the 5th chapter, I think it is exactly the 5th chapter, something insane happens and like rips the plot away from you into something completely different. So guys, go out and read this. It's literally like a city where there's a bunch of Mr. Magical creatures, but what's really cool about this, and if you read Lore Olympus, it's really similar. It's a modern take on if all these magical creatures were living in a society together, but a very modern society. Like they've got cell phones, they watch Netflix all the time, so read it. Also, 800-page book, and it only took me like a week and a half to read. That just goes to show how like easy to like be absorbed into it is. The next one is actually another one. Oh, by the way, if you couldn't tell, I gave that one 5 stars. The next one is another one that I read because of the hype. It is Bone Criers Moon by Catherine Purdy. I didn't realize this, and I keep doing this. I didn't realize that it was not a standalone novel when I started reading it. So I really thought that this book was a like standalone, that it would complete a story arc, and it really felt like it was going to up until like the last page. So me judging this, I feel like is wrong because I had such expectations for it to just like finish and I was like, why isn't it ending? So like it's gonna be a duology. I was talking to my friend Katie's Book Nook and she absolutely adores this. I think I gave it a 3-star, maybe a 4-star. There is a side plot that I just did not care about. Okay, wait, I guess I can tell you guys what this is about. It's about these beings called Bone Criers, who are these women who take bones and carve them into little amulets to be able to harness the power that bone came from. So for example, if you harness the power of a bat by killing him and then like making his bone into some earrings, you can like speak supersonically and like that kind of thing. And it's about this main girl who has a rite of passage and she has to kill her like love within a year after like meeting them. So that I was like super down with. That I vibed with and it was really cool and really interesting. But the other thing was that these bone criers ferried the dead. So they would gather up all these souls and bring them into purgatory or heaven or whatever. Yeah. And I just was so not down for that side plot. I find that plot has been done so much. Like whether you're bringing them to the underworld or you're bringing them to heaven or whatever the version of that it's been done so much that it's boring. Like I don't care about ghosts fighting people or like trying not to get into heaven. Honestly, cared so much like little for that plot that was going on that like really detracted from the fact that like I would have enjoyed this novel if it wasn't for that. So that is why I rated it so low. But I do have to say, guys, look at this cover. It's so pretty. Like I would say read it, like, and I will read the next one. So I do recommend it. It just wasn't my favorite book. After finishing those 2 fantasy novels, I flicked the switch and I went into like that weird sort of dark woman genre of like Gone Girl-esque books. And I picked up the wives. Yeah, damn. I was watching Read with Cindy's and Chanel's take on the wives, and I had like just bought the books, and they both said like they rated it 1 star, and I was like, okay, well, like I just bought it off Amazon, I better give it a chance and like read it anyways. The plot is that it's about this girl who's named Thursday, and she gets her husband on Thursday because on Monday and Tuesday he is with his other wives. So it's like a weird polygamy sort of book. And I feel like, and I totally agree with the 2 girls I just mentioned, this had a lot of potential, and up until the like plot twist that happened, like I was vibing with this book and I actually really liked it. But then the second the plot twist happened, I was like, oh wait, no, this is very bad and like so anti-women, and it was just like, I can't say anything without giving away the novel. I believe I rated it 2 stars, but I only rated it 2 stars because I was like really engulfed in it, especially at the beginning, and I did really feel like I needed to know what happened in the book, so I will give it 2 stars because the writing intrigued me. Okay, and then keeping up with my like trashy thriller novels, this is a book I got from the library before the library closed, so I have 2 books from the library that I just get to keep until the library opens up again. So this is the first one I read. It is the Last Mrs Parrish by Liv Constantine. It's actually this like sister duo that writes together and uses that name as like a pseudonym. This was interesting because this, and similar to The Wives, is that you're in the head of a like unreliable or bad narrator. Like, you know that she is sort of like an evil-ish woman. Especially in this one, the story is about this girl who actively goes and befriends the wife of a very wealthy man. She like completely manipulates the wife into being able to get this man and marry him for his money and live that like luxurious life that she's always wanted because she's always been super poor. I actually think I might have given this like a 4 star because I didn't absolutely love it. There was a lot of things that were bad in it. It does really go heavy into like fat shaming, and it goes heavy into like girl on girl hating, and just like there was a lot of things that I felt was super like problematic about this book. And I'm usually not like super nitpicky, but this book was like it was like throwing it in my face. It was telling me that like I shouldn't be eating even though I'm like snacking as I'm like reading this book. So that kind of felt weird. I would recommend this because the plot twist, different than The Wives, the plot twist in this one actually made the book better. The one thing that I gave it like a lower rating for is that it kind of goes on for a really, really, really long time until it reaches the plot twist. Like it could have, the first half could have been condensed down a lot. I think the author were just trying to make it seem like this is how horrible the girl is, this is super awful, and then it like flicked the switch on you. So I do recommend this book because I want to say it, like I want to spoil it for you guys because like it's a good spoiler. Like it was a cool idea. The one thing I'll say though is I kind of want to see this exact plot with like this exact plot twist written, maybe not like by a new author, but by them again, like refreshed, because like there was something off about the writing in this book that I did not appreciate. So I like the plot, I just didn't like the writing. And then after I went through my like trashy phase, I was like, cool, I can dip into like all these other fantasy books that I have that I'll show you in a second. But I was like, I'm still ready for more trash. I'm not gonna go out and buy any books. Bookstores are closed. I told myself I'm only buying 5 books this year, and I'm pretty sure I've already reached my 5-book mark, even though we're only in April. So I decided, and if you're following me on any other social media, you already know what I'm reading right now because I am balls to the walls obsessed with it again. I'm doing my reread of Twilight right now. Guys, I was the biggest Twilight fan. It was grade 9 for me, which by the way, I've been graduating from high school for like 10 years now. So like it's been a hot second since I was in grade 9 that I read these, and I read them so many times that even now, it's been like 10 years, maybe more, that I'm doing a reread. And I know what's gonna happen. I know everything that's gonna happen next. I know the next chapters. I know what lines are gonna be said. I read these like 4 times when I was a kid. So like this is like my 5th reread. And I'm still in love with them. Like I really, like guys, I totally thought that I'd hate them. Like I thought I'd be like over it and like whatever, I've grown up and matured. I just kind of want to like see how it would be like if I read Twilight again. I'm fucking trash for these. These are good. Yeah, this super unpopular opinion, but Twilight's good and more people should read Twilight. So the like atmosphere that it creates and the sort of like obsessive, powerful love, I'm for that. Maybe that's what's wrong with my relationship issues now because I grew up thinking that this was what love is, but like, it's good. It's good. It's like, also guys, I read After. After was my first like book series that I read. I made it like 2 books in the beginning of the year, and like After is known as like super problematic and like people are like obsessed with it and gave the same sort of obsession that they gave to Twilight. And After was so bad. Like After was like every like toxic thing rolled into one. Twilight's not like that. I'm not seeing the red flags. I mean, I'm sure there are them if you really, really nitpick, but I don't see the red flags in Twilight the way that I see the red flags in freaking Hardin from After, who's like doing some messed up stuff. So just saying, no better time to read Twilight than in quarantine. Okay, now we can move into the 4 other books I have here that I have not read yet. So the terms of like plot is going to be so loose just because I like to go into a book knowing like the least amount of plot that I possibly can know. I don't know if you guys are like that, but I kind of like going into the book not even knowing even like the base structure sometimes, just so that like I feel a bit more like wowed about it. Like I did that with the Wives and I did that with the Last Mrs Parrish, and I found that it makes it so much better, especially thriller wise. Fantasy, it's kind of nice to have like a bit more of a base, but yeah, there's like, I don't know what a lot of these books are, so sorry for the loose amount of summary I'm giving you. This one I actually had in my hands and was about to read before I picked up Twilight. I needed something trashier. But yeah, Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I have a weird relationship with Cassandra Clare. I don't love her, but I keep reading her books anyways. The only series that I genuinely could say I enjoyed from her was The Infernal Devices, and that, for that reason alone, is why I picked up Chain of Gold. I believe it's like the continuation-ish of that series, so I think that the like book art is super beautiful though, and like the book itself is beautiful and the cover is beautiful, and I have heard really good things about it. I don't know, I just don't think I truly enjoy Cassandra Clare's writing. I don't know. Some of you might not like me for saying that, but there's something off that I don't love about it. But it will probably be the next one that I read. The next one I totally have started reading and then stopped because I just wasn't in the mood for it and I knew I could appreciate it later on in time. Later on in time is going to be after I finish reading Twilight. So it is The Lovely Ward by Julie Berry. This is actually really interesting. It's a story of Aphrodite telling Hephaestus about like a love story to try and convince him about love or something like that. I'm sorry, I really only read like the first 2 chapters before I tapped out of this. But I am so obsessed with Greek mythology that I was like, the second I heard that it was not just like an old wartime story and was actually something more godly, I needed to pick it up. Everyone has rated this super high, so I did pick it up. Kendra rated it high, Heather rated it high, and I've seen them like pushing it down people's throats. So I'm gonna read this one. Oh my god, this matches my hair pretty well. If you guys haven't seen my photos yet that I took of like outfits as book covers, which I will lean out of frame so you guys can see, I did Lovely War and I picked like a beautiful silk dress for it, so it kind of makes me even more excited to read it. Okay, the next one, you can get mad at me. I'm mad at me for this. I got a beautiful ARC that I cried when I got in the mail because I specifically requested this, and I haven't read it yet, and the book came out. If you guys didn't know this, my very first live show with the Overhyped Book Club was doing the Wicked Saint series. It was like the first one in the series, and I think because of that, like, not only did I love the book, but because of that, me and my friends feel so like close, and like it's like kind of special for me because that was our first live show, that like I requested the book and got it. Again, I started reading it, but there's so much of the plot from the Wicked Saints that I forgot in the few months that it took for me to like not be reading the series, that I need to go back in and read the Wicked Saints before I read Ruthless Gods. But guys, like, this is an arc of probably will be one of my favorite books. Like, I I messed up not reading it, but by the way, it is out right now. So if you guys need to order it, then go ahead and order it, because I'm just gonna call it right now. I'm gonna call it and say that I'm gonna love it, because it's like dark and like gothic and creepy. It reminds me a lot of Six of Crows. The next one, depending, I don't know what order this will be, but this is another one of the library books that I have that I don't really know when they're due back because the library is closed. I have The Wedding Date by Jasmine Gilroy. Another one that I started reading, and then I always mood read. So like if you start reading something and then the first like few chapters you're like, no, like I'm not in the mood for like a contemporary love story, I'm actually more in the mood for like a fantasy instead, or like a thriller, then I just put them down and then pick them back up at a later date. It doesn't necessarily mean that I don't like the book. So yeah, eventually I will read The Wedding Date. It has a really pretty cover, so I don't really know what the story is. I really read one chapter before I tapped out. Finally, this one that I've been meaning to read for so long. It is Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I absolutely adored Night Circus. It has been a hot second since I adored Night Circus, and I'm not in the mood yet for this beautiful, like, flourishing novel. Like, I know it's gonna be really pretty and embellished and like fantasy, whimsical, all those good things. I just don't think I'm in the mood, especially right now when I'm rereading Twilight. Like, of course I'm not in the mood for like some like amazing literature that's gonna like change my life. Like, I'm in the mood for like some trash right now. So this is of course still on my TBR and is still something I'm gonna read in quarantine. It is just not my first priority the way that Twilight is my first priority right now. So yeah, those are the books that I have right now. I have a few more books in my closet that I bought so long ago from thrift shops or anything like that that I just haven't read yet and that I kept. I did a huge unhaul and like got rid of so many books. So I do have only like maybe like 10 books mingled in my closet of books that I haven't read yet and that I'm like intrigued to read. So maybe I'll add those in there, but these are like my priority books that I showed you guys right now. Yeah, guys, if you want to see more books, I do not mind. I enjoy still making book videos. I am really like diverting myself away from that sort of channel. Like, I don't want to say that I'm giving up on booktube or anything like that. I just like, I feel more creative freedom when I'm putting together outfits and when I'm sitting here talking to you about like the plot of the book I read. I like both of those things I enjoy, but I do enjoy niching down a bit more in the fashion industry than the book industry. But like literally all my best friends are still there on Twitter, so I'm still definitely like a book Twitter. Okay, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you're reading right now in quarantine, and I will see you guys whenever I see you. What day of the week is it? Bye.